In the gospel for today, our Lord issues a scathing rebuke of the scribes and Pharisees. He says to them, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites." Some of the harshest language our Lord used in the Gospels were directed towards the scribes and Pharisees. He called them hypocrites, fools, blind guides, a brood of vipers. The reason, of course, is the fact that they did not pay sufficient attention to the substance of faith. They focused on the letter of the law, while often ignoring the spirit of the law. In his rebuke of the scribes and Pharisees, our Lord uses an example that may not be familiar to us. He says to them, "Blind guides who strain out the gnat and swallow the camel." Our Lord was referring to the practice of pouring wine through a strainer. And this was done to filter out insects like gnats, which were deemed ritually unclean, not suited for consumption. The camel was considered the largest unclean animal to walk the roads of Palestine. Our Lord's point is that while the scribes and Pharisees were concerned about filtering out minor violation, they often ignored major ones. They failed as it relates to justice, to mercy, to compassion, to love. My friends, do we see something of ourselves in the scribes and Pharisees? That is, do we pay attention simply to the small things that are necessary, but yet overlook what is essential? Do we connect our Lord's command to love our neighbor as ourselves with the homeless man sitting on the street corner, hoping for a little change in order to get a bite to eat? Do we connect the sign of peace we extend at each Mass to the fact that we are called to seek reconciliation with others? Do we connect the Gospel's call to nonviolence with the words we sometimes use? Words that can wound just as deeply. Do we see something of ourselves in the scribes and Pharisees? Origen of Alexandria summed up the spiritual lesson in the gospel for today quite succinctly. He says, this passage teaches us that we should hasten to be righteous, not merely appear to be so. He says we must work hard on the interior life as well as the exterior one. Perhaps that should be our prayer for this day, asking for the grace not only to focus on the little things, but also to pay attention to the essentials of the faith.